Hello, my little mathematicians. Today we're going to go through absolute value. And we're going to do it using the foldable that looks like this on one side and this on the other. Okay? So to get started, for the definition of absolute value, the absolute value is a, not hashtag, but a numbers distance from zero on the number line. And the absolute value is written as, see these little bars right here? Those are called absolute value signs. Okay, so the absolute value of 5 is written like this. When you see those bars, that's almost like asking the question, hey, what's the absolute value of 5? So the answer to what's the absolute value of 5 is just 5. You get rid of those absolute value bars because it's saying how far away is 5 from 0? Well, 5 is 5 away from 0. So the answer to an absolute value problem will always be positive, okay? Because a distance is always positive. And remember, when you write your answer, those absolute value bars go away because otherwise it's like you're asking, what's the absolute value to 5? What's the absolute value to 5? It's like you just repeated the question back to me. So those bars go away. And please make sure that you make them larger than the number themselves so that this doesn't look like 151. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and practice some of these. So they'll say, please use the number line to find the absolute value of 7. And why they say that is because remember, the absolute value means how far it is from 0. So if 7 is right here on the number line, let's backtrack how far that is from 0. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes they'd ask the question like this, or other times they might just say this. What's the absolute value of 7? That's what those bars around it is meaning. And then your answer would just be, it's 7. Done. Pretty easy, right? Okay, now for this other one, it says use the number line to find the absolute value of -4. Or they would have just written, this is also asking, find the absolute value of -4, please. And so you want to say, well, how far is -4 from 0? It's 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So again, my answer is still positive, whether it started as a positive or a negative, because distances are always positive. Okay, let's look at some of how you'd actually see them. They'd probably just ask, find the absolute value of each one, and then they just put them like this. What's the absolute value of 12? Just 12. What's the absolute value of -8? A positive 8, because again, whether it's a positive or a negative, it's still only that far away from 0. -8 is 8 away from 0. Positive 8 is still 8 away from 0. Okay, -19 is 19 away from 0. And 7 is 7 away from 0. I think you guys probably have the hang of it by now. The absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of 0 is just 0. Okay, because it's no distance away from itself, right? It's right there. The absolute value of 53 is just 53. And the absolute value of -10 is 10. The only way that these problems could be tricky is like these bonus ones down here. So this is saying, what's the opposite of the absolute value of 7? So to do these, you work your way inside and then out. So first of all, inside, what's the absolute value of 7? Just 7. And then what's the opposite of that? A -7. So my answer would be -7. For the next one, again, work your way inside out. So the absolute value of -7 is a +7. And then what's the opposite of that? Because when there's a negative sign out in front, it's saying what's the opposite of that? Well, it was a -7. That's the only way that you could get an answer with a absolute value sign that is negative, because when it's asking you for the opposite of it. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This time the negative sign is on the inside. So it's saying, what's the opposite of -7? A +7. And then the absolute value bar signs are here. What's the absolute value of 7? Just 7. See how that one worked out, how they're all slightly different? So it helps if you work your way inside the absolute value signs first, okay? And that's it. That's about as tough as this lesson can get. Pretty easy. Good job at mastering yet another standard. If you fold it, go ahead and fold it to right there. You just fold it till it meets that, but not quite covering the absolute value words. And now you have this nice little booklet. Go ahead and flip it over, put some glue on the back, glue it in, and then once it's glued in, you can open this part and maybe cut along those dashed lines. That part's not that important, but if you want to, you can. And then you're gonna glue it into your notebook, and it is 1.3 absolute value. Congratulations.